And we're live. Hi,
Right.
everyone. Welcome to Talking Live with Macy. Same drill. I hope that we get about 15 people to join our stream today so that we can officially begin. I believe that there are many people out and about today, and there's just tons of things going on. So I really, really hope that everyone's staying safe. I really hope that we can get more people to join the stream. So if you're watching this, please share it with your friends, with your family. Get them to join to find out more about something very important to our health, which is our gut health and also about nutrition. I think there are many of you who always ask me questions about what to eat, what is good for our bodies. I think this is the perfect time to join in the stream because we have a dietitian who is a specialist in gastrointestinal body parts, gastrointestinal organs, and he's here to help us. He works in a medical center. So before that, it looks like we have almost 15 people already. So please remember to share this stream with your friends and family. So we have 15 people already. So I'm going to officially begin. Welcome everyone to Talking Life with Macy. I haven't seen you in about 2 weeks, I think, and we are back. But it also seems like outside when you go outside, the cars are all back, the restaurants are full. So please remember to practice the SOPs. We all play a part as a nation in any country that you are to reduce the transmission of COVID 19. So this is my PSA to all of you. And today is we're kickstarting the colorectal cancer awareness series. Colorectal cancer is a topic or a month that is very, very close to my heart simply because I'm a colorectal cancer survivor. And I know how important our gut is to our entire body, our health, and our well being. So I wanted to have a very extensive sharing when it comes to colorectal cancer. That's why we're starting with this month being the first week. We're going to talk about nutrition and our gut. Our gut plays a huge role in our bodies from it covers our esophagus, our intestines, our colon, our rectum, our liver, all these parts of our bodies and organs actually are a part of our gut. And the most important part I have to stress is the food that we intake and put into our bodies. So today we're going to talk more or rather extensively about that. If you have questions for Kar Foo here, please start asking them now. And we're going to begin today's session. I'm going to introduce Kar Foo. We have Mr. Kar Foo here with us. He practices at Sanjal Gastrointestinal Medical Center, which actually specializes in gastrointestinal liver diseases, which is so apt for today's session. So, Kar Foo, thank you so much for joining us. He also specializes in cancer, gastrointestinal cancers. So, he works with a lot of cancer patients. So, really, really, he is truly the person to ask when it comes to diet and gastrointestinal diseases. So, hi, Kafu. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, thanks for a warm welcome.
Guys, remember if you have questions, please put them in now and please share this with your friends, with your family, so that they're aware of it. At the end of today's session, I'm also going to announce a little bit of a promo code for all of you to enjoy and find out more about your gut with the National Cancer Society of Malaysia. So, Karfu, I'm just going to jump straight to the questions.
Sure.
Now, my first question for you is I mentioned earlier, a lot of issues come from our gastrointestinal tract, basically our gut. And our gut is where what we eat passes through. So, as a dietitian, would you say that what we eat affects our overall well being?
Surely, in terms of food, is crucial for our health and similarly to our life as well. So I guess we have to move beyond saying that food is just an item to nourish our body. We also need to consider that food actually brings us memory, give us experience. So when we talk about nutrition, we have to go beyond the nutrient itself. We have to also talk about the memories that we have when we are eating, as well as what sort of memories that it give to us. So this way, when I work with my patient, I don't really talk about only food. So I have to go beyond because sometimes when we talk about lifestyle change or eating behavior change, we need to also bring along the experience change as well. So the way that we eat surely will nourish our body, and the way that we eat is also bring experience and also memory that will actually promote what we call the mental health too. So I guess food
I
is
see.
actually very broad. So it brings us many benefits, not just physical health. It's also look to mental health. And of course, nowadays when we eat, we may actually eat together with friends. So we will then benefit the social health too. So nutrition as a whole is actually very broad, and the benefit given is actually more than what we perceived last time.
I see. Wow, that's very in depth. And also, I like the fact that you say that when we eat with others, it also promotes our social health and it affects our mental well being. I completely agree with that. My next question for you is, what are the foods in general to take for a healthy gut?
Actually, for gut, probably just a fun fact, our gut actually is very long. So just for example, if you talk about small intestine, all right? So small intestine is an organ passed right after the food passed through the stomach. It can actually as long as 6 to 7 meters. So basically, it's much longer than our height. So you can see that our small intestine is a key organ to absorb all the nutrients. So this is where that each time we say healthy eating, we are not just looking into to making sure that all the nutrients being absorbed. We also have to ensure that the gut is healthy in order to absorb the nutrient well. So this is where if we eat healthily, we take care of the gut, and hence we will get benefit from the healthy food. So if you're asking that what are they going to promote gut health, surely nowadays we get to know plant food is a key food that actually bring us all the nutrients going to help for cancer prevention, promote gut health. So what are the plant food that we're looking into? So we're looking into whole grains, we're looking into colorful fruits and vegetables, particularly non-starchy vegetables is the key that we're looking into. We also look into beans. Most of the time we forget that actually quite a number or quite a lot of beans come different texture and taste. And of course, nuts and seeds. They are actually very rich in good fatty acid as well, which is also good for overall health. And of course, lastly, we call the low-fat dairy. We currently also realize that low-fat dairy is actually considered as a protective or beneficial food item for colorectal cancer too. So, so in terms of food, as long as it's plant-based, definitely seems to be beneficial for our gut as well for our overall health.
So plant-based with our colorful vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, all these are part of what we should input to keep our gut healthy, right?
Exactly. Of course, not to say that plant-based means vegetarian. So actually, plant-based means that
Yeah,
most of the
exactly.
food should come from plant. So it's not saying that there's no meat, no fish. So it's just that meat, chicken, fish, eggs will become minimal. So whenever possible, we can get protein food sources from plant. It definitely will be encouraging.
Okay. So what then are the foods to avoid for a healthy gut?
Yeah, this is important. Now, we also know that our gut house a lot of good bacteria as well as also bad bacteria too. So we need to strive for a balance between these two. So this way we need to promote the good, healthy bacteria. So food that are going to influence this balance surely is not encouraged. So what are the food? We get to know that refined carbohydrate mainly is like coming from flour, or coming from table sugars, or we also get to know if we take too much of the processed meat or particularly red meat, all right, so it's also may not be good for the gut too. And lastly, we also get to know being high body weight, all right, is also considered as one of the factors that increase the risk of colorectal cancer. So the food
I
that probably
see.
need to consider to reduce, I would say, is that refined carbohydrate, alcohol, red meat, particularly processed meat, and surely, if you can, please maintain or achieve a healthy body weight range. That will be good for the gut.
Okay. So would you say that red meat in particular is very bad? Because I just read somewhere that they say that
Mm,
red meat we should eat it every week. So it
mm.
consists of like your beef, your pork, and stuff like that. We should still put it into our bodies. So would you recommend that we continue to eat red meat? I think a lot of people have questions about this.
Exactly. I think red meat is actually can provide us quite a good source of protein, iron,
Okay,
and some of the plant-based like zinc, some of the
I see.
key elements that only abundant in the animal food. So it's not to say that we need to avoid red meat. I think it's to know that the portion. By science, we actually
Mm,
get to know that we need to limit our red meat to the size like our palm size. All right, 3 to 4 times a week is considered good enough. So go beyond that, we realize that by study, it may actually increase the risk of colorectal cancer. So when we say 3 to 4 palm size in a week, so if you spread throughout, so probably you may actually get half a palm size a day. All right.
I see.
So and of course, when we talk about red meat, we need to be aware of processed meat. Now, so that bacon, for example,
Yep.
sausages, so those are the highly processed red meat. So those we should actually reserve it for occasional event. All right. So we should not
Okay.
take that as the key source of red meat.
Okay. Thank you. I think this is good for everyone to know. My
Yeah.
next question is: would you say that what we eat in general has an effect on getting colorectal cancer?
Definitely, definitely. I wouldn't say that nutrition alone will cause someone to have cancer, but surely
Of
nutrition will
course.
play a part in this situation. So to
Okay.
prevent colorectal cancer, we need to promote a good healthy gut too. So this is where that plant-based diet, as we mentioned just now, is a key to actually reduce the risk. So we have a lot of science or even international guidelines already mentioned plant-based diet is the key to reduce colorectal cancer, right? So plant-based is again to emphasize is whole grains, fruits and vegetables, particularly starchy vegetables, so nuts, seed, and also beans. So those are the key food that contains so much of phytonutrient that can actually fight colorectal cancer or to prevent colorectal cancer. So I guess
Okay.
when we go to a supermarket, we do not think of what we shouldn't take from the cart. Probably we need to consider what are the food that we need to include into a diet. I
Mm,
always share with my patient. So when you go to supermarket, you should go to the fresh produce area. Right? Why is that so? Because fruits and vegetable is so colorful. When you go to that section, actually you bring out positive energy. So actually you feel more happy when you go to that section first, instead of going to the processed food where the food is kept in boxes. All right.
yeah.
So it looks very artificial. It may somehow change the way that our shopping experience too. So always go for fresh produce when you go for shopping.
Okay. That's very good to note. I think that's how our supermarkets are also placed. We go straight for the fresh produce first. I'm
Yes.
glad that our supermarkets are aware of this. Okay, so that brings me to my next question. If a person has colorectal cancer, would you advise them to follow a specific diet? Because I would just like to talk about this a little bit because
Mm,
I'm a
mm,
colorectal cancer survivor.
mm,
I'm more of a rectal patient, rectal
mm, mm,
cancer patient. So I don't have much of a rectum. Whatever I eat
mm,
immediately comes out. So I'm very sensitive towards foods, a lot of food nowadays, and the smell.
mm,
So
mm,
whatever that I eat actually can come out immediately. Something wrong.
mm.
Like before I had cancer, I
Yeah.
could eat things like truffle, but now
Mm,
I cannot even stand the smell of truffle. It
yeah.
makes my
Yeah.
stomach churn.
Mm,
Basil, pesto, all these things I cannot take.
change.
So I mean, would you think, or would you usually advise your colorectal cancer patients to go on specific
Mm.
diets?
I guess it's important to we must actually aware that cancer is a long journey. So it's not something that's short term. Similarly, throughout the whole journey, according to our situation, nutrition advice will change. For example, probably we start from the as early as we get diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Of course, colorectal cancer it means a lot because like large colon is separated into different type, a different part, and each part of the colon may play a different role. And particularly, for example, if that surgery have removed certain part, it will definitely at the initial stage will change the way that we process food, and hence you will get some of the effect right after operation, gassy stomach, and then you need to go toilet in a urge. That kind of situation may happen, right? So as early as when we get the diagnosis, we need to discuss with the doctor whether there's any obstruction happening. Right? Because most of the time that when my patient or my client get to know that colorectal cancer, they suddenly change the diet, become high fiber. Bear in mind, if the
Yes,
tumor is
me.
big enough, they cause obstruction. Please do not practice a high fiber diet. It will further block the whole situation, block the colon. Right? So discuss with the doctor what stage you are at, how is the situation like, whether you're required to change your diet immediately. All right. Now, get to know diagnosis is something that's very stressful. And we get to know that our gut, actually we call our gut as a second brain because our gut has housed so much of neurons, all right, can be comparable to our brain as well. So when we are in stress, it will change the way that we digest food. For example, when we are in stress because we get to know we have cancer, we actually can easily get indigestion. We will lost appetite. All right. So at this point, please do not suddenly change your diet to be a high fiber because we know that high fiber is going to make us to feel full longer. All right. At the same time, actually will actually reduce our appetite to eat too. Right. So where in stress, actually you need to have good food to nourish your body. So do not immediately change to high fiber, probably to consider to choose food that easy for us to accept at that point in time because we know that we are in stress. But once we already get to know the situation quite well, we have already slowly accept the whole situation. This is probably to consider whether your appetite has changed. If your appetite has regained, you basically has no issue in eating. So this is where you can consider slowly change your plant-based diet. Okay, but at the end, we will then consider what sort of treatment we're going to receive. So most of the time for colorectal cancer patient will require surgery as a first intervention. All right. Now, if you are going through surgery in nutrition or in medical field, we have a program we call ERAS, ERAS. It's an abbreviation. We call it as Enhanced Recovery After Surgery. Right. Now, this is a program that is very crucial because not all medical center has implemented it. It just basically to help patients who are going to go through surgery enhance their recovery. In nutrition component, we need to know that the 2 weeks before surgery, we need to well nourish our body first because later on when we receive surgery, it's kind of something, it's a stressful to our body. We may actually break down some of our body just to get the fluid. So and hence the 2 weeks we have to well nourish. Probably if you're eating issue, discuss with dietitian how to nourish your body with some of the eating strategy, right? And then go to the day before surgery. We will do a carbo loading for our patient. Carbo loading is important because we know that if you're going to resist surgery, you're going to put on fasting for a few days. So we need to
Yes.
store something in our body. Otherwise, we're going
I
to
did not
use.
know this.
It's something very new.
I didn't know this. Yeah. So like 2 weeks
Yeah.
before, I was just still eating normal stuff, even to the day
Yeah.
itself. And after that, when I came out of surgery, I didn't eat for 5, 6 days. I was like,
Exactly. It's
that is
exhausted actually.
crazy. I know
Yeah.
I was so thin. I was like 39 kg for a 5'6" person.
Correct. So surely you actually lose some weight. And when it says that lose some weight, it means that probably you already break down your muscle, your storage. So this is where carbo loading will comes in to keep certain levels of carbohydrate content in our body for use later on. When we also get to know when we do carbo loading, it actually reduce the stress to our body too after surgery. All right. Now
I
this will
see.
be before surgery. So this is where come to the day of surgery, the doctor may ask you to stop drinking or eating, but recommendation we get to know that we can actually drink up to 2 hours or 3 hours before surgery. This is to prevent us from dehydration because dehydration is also cause some issue for our body as well. So until you receive surgery, this is where if you can actually get a dietitian, you need to get a dietitian for you to help you to break the fast. Otherwise, we get to know if you're going to fast for beyond 3 days and more, your body going to use up all the resources and will continue to break down your muscle. And not just to break down your muscle, also tell us is that your immune system will slowly go down. So this is where get a dietitian, become your spokesperson to break the fast. All right, because the dietitian will then talk to the surgeon to tell that probably this is a good timing to allow the patient to take food, right? Because if we do not take food, basically our gut, for information, if we do not take food for 3 days and more, our gut will shrink the tissue and hence will affect the way that we absorb or digest food. So it becomes so crucial in that sense, right? So now, correct. So when we come to after receiving surgery, we fasted 2 to 3 days, we start eating. This is where we get to know when we start eating, yes, we are very hungry. There's always a limit in terms of the portion because we feel full very easily. Okay, and when we feel full easily, it also means that we have a higher chance that not getting enough nutrition too. After surgery, our body in stress, not getting enough food, is going to affect the recovery process. Again, this is also a good timing for us to engage a dietitian to give you some dietary advice and probably to use some of the supplementary drink to boost your energy and protein intake to enhance the recovery. Now, the recovery doesn't stop until you discharge. It actually continues. We get to know that if we can continue to let our patient optimize the nutrition for 2 weeks and beyond, this is where the recovery will be complete and hence our client will get less complication from the surgery. So I can't talk enough about the importance of nutrition during the surgery, right? By just this session, I try to cut it short. This will be the gist of it. Okay, and after surgery, recover, and again work with your doctor, see whether there's subsequent treatment. Because if you do have subsequent treatment, for example, chemo, then again we know chemo going to affect your food intake, and if you're not getting enough nutrition, you lose weight, they will have more side effect coming from the chemotherapy, and somehow doctor have no choice. We actually change the dose and so on, or even stop the chemotherapy just because the side effect given is too bad to you. So nutrition is just too important, too much to talk about.
So the most important is for those who have done gut surgery or about to do gut surgery,
Yes.
you have to nourish your body for 2 weeks before the surgery, and on the surgery day itself, the day before surgery, carb load, and on the day of surgery itself, it's very important that because you'll be fasting for a few days. So during that time, work with the dietitian to be able to break that fast. Make sure your intestine starts moving. So I think that's very important. I wish I knew this beforehand because I was not eating or drinking for 4 or 5 days until the intestine started making noise. I'm so glad to actually find out from you more about this. So my next question, for those of you who have questions, please put your questions in now because I have 2 more questions. So my second last question is, for those who like to maintain a healthy weight and gut, what would your advice be for them? What are the things they need to be aware of when it comes to food?
Now, when we're going to maintain a healthy gut, again, to reemphasize, plant-based diet is very, very important when it comes into gut health, right? Now, if you're not a plant-based person, we need to do minor and small changes for you to slowly adapt to it, right? Do not start it over the night. Everything changed to whole grain. Everything changed into a lot of fruits and vegetables. I can tell you the next day, you will have a lot of gas. So you'll get gassy stomach, you feel a lot of discomfort, and hence you give up.
I can imagine.
Right? So yes. So be sure the dietary changes is small, easy for adapt, and then be sure it's sustainable. All right. Now, the small changes most of the time that I share with my client is that, for example, in Malaysia, we are actually, most of us can be a rice eater. You can start to consider to mix white rice to brown rice. Right? So I always mention to them, why you have to keep your rice white, where you have so many different colors of rice out there. It also make your rice to be more palatable. So you can actually mix the white rice to brown rice, red rice, purple rice. Somehow you can mix with barley, oat. So we have to be more creative in making a good rice and make the rice to be healthy. It's a way for us to get whole grain too, right? And slowly we can consider the bread. Okay. Now, if you're not so like wholemeal bread so well, you can consider some of the bread that they're adding in the brand into it, right? And then once you get used to it, you can actually move on to a wholemeal bread. Right? So we have to do a gradual changes. Fruits and vegetables is widely available, all right? So we play with colors because a lot of times that my client says vegetable means green. Please do not only focus on the vegetable which is green and white,
Yeah.
because when you look at it, your face also green and white. So go beyond. You have to look into green colors, vegetable, fruits and vegetables, yellows, purple, all right, brown colors, and so on. So make your plate colorful, because if the plate is colorful, we'll be more than happy to eat it. All right. If your plate is only green, psychologically, it's something that yucky, so you may not even want to touch the food. Right now, some of my clients even come to so extent that they take green juice. Yes, probably 1 to 2 times of green juice, you feel good, but we're going to take it for a long run. Green juice, green juice, green juice, green juice. So I guess sometimes you'll get bored with it. Play with
Yeah.
the colors. So remember, fruits and vegetables always come with 5 different colors. So we have green, white, and then we have orange or yellow. We have red, and lastly purple and blue. So play with the colors to make the plate colorful. Now, fruits and vegetable, you can, of course, if you can get fresh, it will be nice. And we always encourage some vegetable to be cooked, because some of the vegetable require to have a cooking process to make the nutrient more available for us to digest and absorb. Right? So you can make different types of cooking method, explore, because when we talk about healthy eating, is to explore new food, explore new recipe to make the food tasty. Somehow we may not accept it because the taste is not something that usual to us. So and hence we take one step back. Right? So try it out. You may not know that you may actually like it. Okay.
I see.
Now, of course, we talk about nuts, seed, and bean. So those are actually very good source of protein. It will be some of the food that easy for us to swap with animal protein. Okay. So I think making soup is actually a good way to use bean. All right, Chinese, we have a red bean soup, for example. I think somehow other ethnicity that also use bean in their cuisine too. If we are making salad, we can just pre-cook the beans ahead and put it into our salad. Or if you're going to stir fry vegetables, right? So you can actually use bean or even nuts to make the stir fry more flavorful. And there's a lot more that for us to talk about plant-based diet, how to incorporate into a menu, right? It's just that we need
Okay.
to be more creative, once at a time, make sure it's sustainable, and for sure, always when we talk about plant-based diet, eat together with other friends to explore different food all together. Well, sharing
Okay.
is caring.
So the most important is not to change your diet drastically if you want to move
Yeah,
into plant-based, and be
correct.
creative with food, mix and match your food, and make sure that your plate has colors. So
Helpful.
that helps with understanding more about the different what type of food is good for our bodies.
Yes.
So that's the gist of it. So my last
Mm,
question for you, I see people putting in their questions. There's quite a few.
mm.
So quickly, very quickly, my last question for you is: they say what we eat is who we are. Do you
Mm.
agree with this?
Well, I think it's not 100% true. And surely, if we put in the healthy food, we will have a healthy body, right? If you put in the not so right food, surely our health will be affected, right? But in nutrition or in healthy eating, we are not aiming to be perfect, right? It just aim to be improved day by day. So this is where that some of the food, it may not be good for us. We can actually still have it occasionally, right? Now, just now we mentioned red meat. Yes, if you take too much of red meat, it may actually relate to colorectal cancer. But if you are able to take red meat in a certain recommendation, for example, only half a palm size every day, this is where that you will get the benefit of it. At the same time, it will not increase your weight as high as per those who take red meat too much, right? Similarly to alcohol in cancer prevention, there's actually no to take alcohol, because we know that even a drop of alcohol is going to increase your risk of cancer. Okay, and occasionally, if you go to certain event, you know that alcohol is served, socialize. If you want to take one glass or probably one small glass of wine just for socialize, that one is actually good enough. All right, because we also know that red wine, it contains so much antioxidant. Small amount in a moderate amount, surely we're going to be beneficial not just for our body, for your social health as well. So I wouldn't say that you need to be perfect in your diet. Whenever possible, we try to achieve as much as we can, right? Of course, there were times that also for us to enjoy food, because as I mentioned, food is also for us. Food is actually also bring us memory, give us good experience. So we do need some of the not so healthy food in order to make the whole diet balance.
All right. Thanks for your advice. I hope
Sure.
everyone got that. So that was the end of my questions. Now we're going to take questions from the audience. I know all of you
Sure.
have, and because it's such an important topic, nutrition, right? So
Yeah.
Julene asked, how do we know that our gut is healthy? Like for her, she has colic issues. And
Mm-hmm.
she also asked, is sashimi good for the gut?
Now, if you're having colic, it means that gassy stomach. We have to look into what are the food components that relate to your situation. Probably most of the time we call a fermentable carbohydrate. So probably it's a food that have complex or carbohydrate that may actually ferment in your gut, because the gas is actually not produced by our food. It's actually produced by the gut bacteria that process the food, right? Now, for example, probably like sweet potato, it contains a lot of fermentable carbohydrate in it, and hence if you're taking too much of sweet potato, this is where you feel you have colics. Okay, so some of the fruits, for example, starchy
Like
fruits,
apple
apples, yes, it contains fermentable carbohydrate too, right? So and
and
hence it may actually cause colic.
beans. Beans will also
Bean
cause
particularly,
colic.
yes.
Yeah.
Now
So
also sometimes tricky for my client who have colics when they eat, the way that they chew, they open mouth and chew.
I see. So I have to
This is where you
stop
also
that.
chunk in the gas and cause colic. Right? Sometimes it can be food related. Sometimes it's also depending on the way that we eat, that we ingest the gas causing the colic to happen. So whether there's going to be our eating habits or the food that causing the gas. So we have to identify accordingly.
So the most
Right.
important is identify foods that
That's
causes gas and try to reduce it, and also eat with
correct.
your mouth closed, so
Yes.
that to
Be
reduce the gas.
focused. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
And she asked whether sashimi is good for is it good for our gut? Sashimi.
Now sashimi is raw food. Okay,
Okay.
so nowadays actually we get to know that if you do enjoy sashimi, yes, take it in moderation, because nowadays we also found that sashimi can be quite not so hygienic. It contains parasite. So unless you know the source is clean, this is where you can still enjoy sashimi. Otherwise, take it in moderation. Probably you may not want to take it every day. Probably once in a while or occasionally you can take sashimi, right? So for
Okay.
me, sashimi is mainly the hygiene issue that we need to look into, because as long as it contains parasite, it go to your gut. So
Yeah.
at some point, it may actually cause issue.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Zomar asks, is any fish in general good for the heart?
This is a very good question. Now, fatty fish. Now, when we say fatty fish, it doesn't mean that you're going to fry the fish. All right. So fatty fish means it's a deep sea fish, right? You get from the deep ocean. So, for example, tuna, salmon. All right. So in Malaysia, you have ikan kembung, fish as the fatty fish, right? So fatty fish means is that they have a thick layer of fat in the flesh, and those fat it can contain healthy fat, for example, omega-3 particularly. By recommendation, we get to know we need to take 1 to 2 servings of fatty fish a week in order to confer to get the heart healthy benefits. All right. But again, the cooking method also play into important roles. If you're taking fatty fish and then you're going to deep fry it, of course, it also change the benefit too. So for heart
Yeah.
health, 1 to 2 serving of fatty
Bake
fish will
it.
be good. Yes, correct. Bake it. We also get to know if you're going to take fish, if you can take one fish in a day, whether it's going to be deep sea fish or a usual fish is also good as well, because fish is a good
Okay.
source of protein and it's kind of low fat too.
All right. Okay, noted on that, although I dislike fish, but yeah. So the next question is why, he also asked, why don't supplements work as good as a healthy plate? Is it a fact that supplements don't work?
Now, this is also a question that often received from my patient too. So they may actually argue that food may have lacking certain nutrients, and hence supplement, why not just take supplement, something easy? Now the point is that no one happy to take supplement. All right. Again, food brings memory. Food brings all together. All right. So it's a whole package. And by science, we also get to know that yes, some of the nutrient it may actually prevent cancer when they purposely extract it out and test it to people. We realize that the benefit change. All right. We can't see the benefit as from the whole food, and hence, when the research find out that actually it's the dietary patterns that make a difference, because food come in a package, not just a single nutrient, and and particularly plant food, it contains so much of plant nutrient has not been explored fully by science. So those can be one of the components that enhance the benefits of the food. All right. So this is where, whenever
Okay.
possible, get nutrition from food first.
Rather than
Okay.
secondary
Exactly.
supplements. Okay.
Yes, and we also get to know when we take in supplement, we may not absorb 100% of the nutrient in the supplement. And somehow, if it's too high dose of certain nutrient, it may actually affect the absorption of other nutrient too. So it's very complicated when we look into supplement. Only if certain people they have hard time to eat have a balanced meal, then probably they will consider supplementation. For example, elderly, uh, the teeth is not so good, so they're using denture, causing chewing as a problem, and hence they're unable to eat well. Probably supplementation will come in handy for them. And for those, for example, pregnant ladies, so they're required to take folate, B12 as a supplements for them to get a healthy pregnancy. So it's kind of scenario based. And if you ask me whether do I actually suggest supplement? Yes, actually I do suggest supplement to certain patients as well. As long as I'm able to pick up they have eating or swallowing difficulties, supplements will then come in. So for
Okay.
us, if you have good appetite, no issue in eating, so you don't need supplement in general. So you try to achieve your nutrient intake from food alone. Right?
Okay.
So this will be the good take. So food comes first.
Okay. Noted on that. And the next question is from Yogimbi. Is fermented foods such as kombucha, drinks, or kimchi good for the gut?
Yes, fermented food is mainly because they contain some good bacteria
Probiotics.
in it. Yes, probiotic particularly. It will be helpful for
Yes,
the
I
gut.
love
Yeah.
kimchi. I
Yeah,
need kimchi.
nice.
Yeah.
Fermented food definitely is well recommended. So this way, kimchi, yogurt, tempeh, for example, those are actually fermented food. It's good for our gut. And we also know that somehow fermented food, for example, yogurt, it's actually also acceptable, well accepted for those who are lactose intolerant because of fermentation process causing the food to be easily acceptable for those who have intolerance. And again, it contains probiotics, it's good for the guts, all right? But again, do not overemphasize about a fermented food at some point, because if we overemphasize it, somehow we'll miss out the other food that are going to good for our gut. For example, those food that are very high in prebiotic. Now, prebiotic, it means it's a food that are going to feed to the probiotics. So we also need to have a prebiotic food. Most of the time is those food that's fermentable in our gut, right? So sweet potato, garlic, onion, right? So cabbage, those are actually food that are very high in probiotic. So also good for our gut too, right? So
Okay.
in short, fermentable food is good for our gut. Again, be aware of the process. Some of the fermentation process may require a lot of salt, and hence it may actually increase your salt intake. So choose wisely, and do not neglect other good food too.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take three more questions. So Kenya Co asks, they're giving their kids Biogia. Would that be fine? Do you know what Biogia is?
I also want.
Biogia. Okay.
Um,
So
I have
we
no idea what is biogia too.
Okay, so Kenya, unless you explain to us, then we can get Kar Foo answer it. If not,
Correct.
I'll move on to the next question.
Mm.
Vanessa asks, what would be the recommended food choice to help with weight gain for patients who have lost weight post
Mm.
surgery?
Okay. Now, food intake. appetite surely will get affected after surgery, which is quite common to happen. So first of all, looking into the appetite of the patient, we need to know that we do not push high fiber at this time, probably to allow him to get food that easily acceptable, right? Easily acceptable doesn't mean that the types of food, also looking into the food that the patient is familiar with, right? Because if we suddenly serve the food that is unusual to him or her, surely acceptance will be bad. For example, if the patient like, Chinese food, right? You do not suddenly give a green juice to the patient, and hence the appetite will be affected. So this way that most of the time after surgery, I will not immediately put my patient into whole grain. For example, I will allow them to take white rice, porridge, and be sure it's a thick porridge, not a very thin or watery porridge, because it will fill up the stomach. Choose noodles that are quite soft, like miso, quite soft in texture, easy for digestion too. And also consider white bread instead of a wholemeal bread. Probably somehow if it make it into toast, dry item, also is easy for the patient to take in, right? In terms of vegetables, make it soft, tender, easy for a client to chew, so that they don't need to chew so many times and hence cause fatigue, then no longer eat further. And if you're going to give protein at this point in time, give them a high quality protein. I will most of the time move to animal protein first. Eggs, fish, chicken become the key protein source. And sometimes we get to know that the amount of egg can be quite small. We have to modify the way that we prepare food. For example, rice. We can actually prepare fried rice for the patient who have a quite poor appetite, because we want to boost in the
Get
calorie.
them to eat.
Yes. If, for example, if you're going to serve yogurt, you do not give plain yogurt. I would suggest to blend with fruits to add in more nutrients and also add in more calorie to the patient. Right. Now, at some point, if eating is still a problem with all the dietary strategy, then we may actually need to consider to provide supplemental drinks. I think supplementary drinks nowadays is widely available in pharmacy. And be sure that the supplementary drinks provide all range of nutrition, must be high in protein, particularly. All right. So, and some of the supplement drink, be careful. They may not be supplement drink per se. They can be just a high fiber drink. For example,
I
sometimes my
see.
client, yes, they may actually get like oatmeal in powder form, and
Yeah.
those are actually high fiber. It may not be good for your client, the patient at this point, because we do not want them to feel full. We want them to continuously ask for food,
So
right? So,
they should take things like Ensure Gold,
for
Ensure
example,
that kind of
correct.
drinks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
have Ensure Go, for example, we have a Nutrient Optimum. Now we have a Supportan. There's a wide range of
Right.
products. Now, how to
Okay.
select the product? You can actually work with a dietitian to get to know what product is suitable for you, because every product have different properties, and hence you will choose one that's suitable for the patient.
Okay.
Eh? At the same
Thank you
time, we
so
also need to
much.
know the dosage lah, to use for the patient to get enough nutrients too. So the dose is also play a role, because some patients they may use, for example, Ensure, and they only take one scoop. For information,
Yeah,
one
but
scoop
it's not
doesn't help.
enough. Okay, good to know that. So guys, take more if you're taking Ensure Gold. One scoop doesn't
Yeah.
help. Um, all right, I'll take two more questions. Very quickly, would you recommend probiotics as supplements?
Probiotic and supplement. Now, surely probiotic has very good science in terms of promoting gut health. Some probiotic even have a very strong science in preventing polyps, right? And we know that as long as you have polyps, there's a very high chance that you'll get colorectal cancer, right?
Yes.
So, and again, there's so much of probiotic out there. You need to know the strain and also the dosage. Not all the strains are equal. So some strains will benefit for something, and the other strain will be beneficial for another things. So we need to be very be careful, or we need to be more well versed in selecting the probiotic. Similarly to the dosage too, certain strains will require certain dosage, and hence will make the product suitable to you or not, right? So I definitely encourage people to take a probiotic. be it in the culture milk, be it in the supplements. But you just need to know the dosage and also the strange well before you take it.
Okay. And Serene asks whether cancer patients can take kimchi.
Oh, now I often get question from people that are surviving with cancer. Can I take this food? Can I take that food? Now, honestly speaking, if you are living with cancer, there's no specific for you to avoid. It's just that you need to eat healthily, right? When I say yes to kimchi, doesn't mean that whole day you're going to just take kimchi,
Yeah.
right? So kimchi
I
definitely can be part of your diet too,
yeah.
all right?
Okay.
Now, of course, kimchi can be spicy. Probably is not suitable for those after colorectal cancer surgery, right? So
Yeah,
imagine
I
it's
mean
spicy
in
and hot.
doses,
Correct.
slowly.
Yeah.
Even for me, I cultivated a love for kimchi after having
Mm.
cancer. And
Mm.
sometimes when I'm very nauseous, that's the
Yeah.
only thing that I can eat because
Mm. It's
it
our
opens my appetite. Yeah.
correct,
So that
correct.
helps me a lot. And okay, so Kenya replied. He said it's pronounced as BioGaia. It's a tablet
Oh.
form probiotics.
Mm.
He gives it to his kids daily at a reasonable dosage. So he
Uh-huh.
understands that kids born via C-sec usually
Mm.
have poorer flora gut.
Okay. Mm.
So is it okay to give this BioGaia to his kids?
Now, supplementation for kids, of course, at the initial stand, is actually not recommended because we want our kids to enjoy wide range of
You
food, to
okay?
accept wide range of food. All right. So, for kids, I would suggest that probably consider to take culture milk, yogurt, all right, to get probiotic
Okay.
in the food form. All right. Supplementation can be quite high in dosage, so have to be careful. So always we know that more is doesn't mean that it's good. Right. So for kids, food first. Right. So for adult, probably yes, you may actually consider to use supplement. Right. Because sometimes science may not be supplementation may not be as they may not have strong science to use it in kids. So and hence limit our recommendation too. Right. So to be
Okay.
conservative, I would say is that get probiotic from food first for kids. So let them to enjoy yogurt, let them to enjoy culture milk. So if you're worried about sugar content, you can choose those that actually low in sugar. I think nowadays in supermarket have so many range of products that we can choose from.
Yes.
Right? Fermentable food, food that contain prebiotic, right? So plant-based food is definitely will be a good option for kids too, right? I think for kids we need to teach them, show them how to enjoy plant-based food because kids is always the one that copy the adults. So if you do well, the kids are going to do well too.
That's true. Kenya Ko says thank you.
And
And I think Serene Fong had one more question, but I don't
mm,
think you don't have to answer this because it's a comparison of brands. And
oh,
sure, compared to, yeah, I think we won't take that question. So I'll just have one last question. Consuming lime juice or apple cider vinegar daily, will it help us to become more healthy? Is that true?
okay, now I have no objection in taking fruit juice or any apple cider, right? So any food can be part of the healthy diet, right? It's just that if you only focus in one food item, for example, you only get one package of the nutrient. If you're able to
Yes.
open up to a wide range of food, you will get all sorts of nutrients. Okay, so if you are going to ask me whether these two foods are going to be good, yes, they can be part of your daily diet, but they cannot be standalone to make up a healthy diet.
All right.
Right?
Thank
Hopefully,
you
I
for your
answer your
advice.
question.
Yeah, and you answered everyone's question amazingly. Thank you so much for being so
Thank
detailed
you.
for trying to answer all of our questions. Thank you
Okay.
all for your questions. So, like I mentioned earlier, this is the first part of a 3 episode colorectal cancer awareness series. We start off with nutrition. So
Mhm.
next month I have Datuk Yunus. Next week I have Datuk Yunus Go talking about gastrointestinal cancers and prevention. And how to maintain a healthy gut as well, but not through nutrition, through other methods, perhaps screening. And the last week we were going to talk specifically about colorectal cancer and also a little bit more about diagnosis and treatment. So I hope that you guys will join us the next 2 weeks. Let's understand more about our colon, about our gut in general. Our gut doesn't just mean our colon and rectum; it actually includes our pancreas, our liver, our esophagus. I think Kar Foo here can
exactly.
tell you that. So please be aware, like what Kar Foo mentioned, our gut consists of so many neurons. It's actually like our brains. So please join us, be aware. And last but not least, because it's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, I am kickstarting a campaign with the National Cancer Society of Malaysia to encourage people to do FOBT test. It's a stool test, very simple. You don't even need to go to the center. You can send it over, and NCSM will settle everything for you. It's 12 ringgit. You can contact them to find out more. Use my promo code CMS NCSM112. CMS NCSM112 to get it for 12 ringgit. You get 8 ringgit off. So just get your gut tested. It's a very simple procedure. So stay healthy, stay safe, and we hope that all of you will have a good Sunday. Thank you so much, Kar Foo, once again for doing such a great job.
Thank you, Melissa, for inviting. Hope everyone get benefited with this section.
Yes. So if you need to ask Kar Foo further questions or would like to seek him for consultation, he works at Sanjal Medical Center, which is at Bangsa South. It specializes in gastrointestinal and liver diseases. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.